edge life. You're too close to the ledge. We gon' push you forward a few steps ahead. It's that edge life. Oh, oh, gotta get it in your head, baby. Welcome to the edge life. You're too close to the ledge. We gon' push you forward a few steps ahead. It's that edge life. Oh, oh, gotta get it in your head. Welcome to the edge life.
What is going on, good people? You have made it to another day, another episode of what we call the Edge Life, and we are super excited to be here with you all. Listen, this is our 50th episode.
That's right.
And when I say excited, man, we are super excited to be here with you, baby. Can you believe we are on episode number 50? Like that's crazy.
In 2 weeks, that's 1 year of podcasts
yes.
that we have done. So we made a commitment a year ago,
yep.
and I think there were only a couple of times that we actually missed because we had COVID.
Right.
So
this is true.
We did miss then. So 52.
I know.
Amazing.
I can't believe it. Like literally, when we said we're gonna set off and we're gonna do this podcast, I didn't know how serious we could take it, but this has wound up being one of the things that I look forward to every single week for several reasons. Number one is because I get to spend some time with you, and that's a beautiful thing, right? So just being able to actually sit, talk, conversate, and really just chat about things that we chat about all the time, but really be able to share that with the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to share and get other people to engage. I see Chris Gloss has joined us tonight. Welcome, Chris.
What up, champion? What up, champion? That's my guy. Like that's my brother from another mother. Like I've realized, like after hanging out with Chris, just for a look, that is my brother from another mother. So that's my guy. We even look a little bit alike. Bald head people unite. Bald head people unite.
Goodness. Just because you're bald doesn't mean you look alike.
This is true. So listen, before we jump into tonight's session, which we're talking about something that I think is going to be pretty awesome, because you all know we live on the edge, right? And
edgy.
We are edgy, like very, no pun intended. But today we're talking about 5 traps holding you back, right? 5 traps that are holding you back from getting to that place, like doing the things that you know that you need to do. So we're going to jump into this thing today and talk about 5 specific things.
That's right.
Traps, like, yeah, you getting stuck. So 5 things that are holding you back.
Not the trap.
Yeah, not the trap, not the trap,
traps,
but traps. So,
yeah, traps.
So let me ask this. Before we jump into that, because I'm really excited about it. Let's talk about our week. Like how was the week? Because we got to share with the people what's really going on, and let's go there.
Yeah, I think the week was pretty good. It was pretty much a normal week. For the Edges, we had our 8th grade basketball game, so that was the last 8th grade basketball game. So, that was about
the extent of the week.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't really a very eventful week, I don't think.
It's never quote unquote eventful, but there's always stuff going on.
Yeah, it's definitely eventful. I mean, nonetheless, I don't think it's just stuff going on. We usually have eventfuls. We got to have our granddaughter for a couple of times this week.
That was good.
That was pretty good.
Yeah,
that was pretty awesome.
Tell them about her birthday.
Oh, well, every day is her birthday. She loves to celebrate her birthday, y'all. She loves to sing happy birthday.
Yes.
And she wants to blow out candles. So I got these little tea light candles that you click the button underneath them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they come on with a little light, but you can't blow those out. So
right.
You need to come up with a way, like you have an LED candle that you can actually it motion senses that you can blow it out. Does anybody know? Is there one of those out there?
We need to create that.
Because literally, so she's learning to bake. We baked with her a couple of times, so we had to have a cake, and I had to put a real candle and actually light it, and she had to blow it out several times.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, we have promised Miss Carson that we are actually going to bake a real cake and just have a birthday party, just because we kept the birthday party decorations. We hung them up. On Friday.
That's crazy.
She put on her mini dress and mini ears, and but we're gonna do it all over again on Monday with a real cake,
the
not
birthday
just a cookie
girl.
with a
The birthday girl.
Yes, so that's always cool. So it was a good week.
That's what I'm talking about.
It was a good week.
That's what I'm talking about.
How about you? How was your week?
It was a good week. Obviously, we're talking to you in some new Rode Mic Pro thingies. So
I didn't know about these until today.
The little pod mic action. We are in them, and hey, we got a good boss. And
I was gonna say my boss is really good. I got these awesome like in ears with these little squishies that squish in your squishy.
We got a good boss. I'm telling you.
It just stays in my ear because I have little like ear holes.
Tiny ears. Yeah.
Are those called ear holes? What are they? What are those?
I don't know. Somebody watching this,
like
let us know.
an official word for the hole in your ear.
Is it?
I'm sure
it's not the eardrum.
That's
I don't know. I don't know.
The ear hole.
Well, what is your hole of your ear called?
My ear hole is small, so these are great because they don't.
It holds it in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So aside from the pod mics, man, we just got a lot of just stuff grinding with Edge and Associates. My gosh, we got a couple ebooks out there. We've been moving around. We got a lot of big things coming. We got our leadership courses that we have that are getting ready to drop. I mean, we got a lot of stuff jumping. So I'm really, really excited about those things. Y'all be on the lookout for those things.
Where can they find these things? All these great things that are happening.
Well, I'll put a link to it in the description here in the comment section, so you can check them out. But next week we are doing something brand new that we call the Leadership Level Up, and this is where faith, family, and business collide. We're gonna do this on Clubhouse and have a fresh little Clubhouse session Monday mornings, 8:30 a.m. So y'all be on the lookout for that. The Leadership Level Up Monday mornings on Clubhouse, where faith, family, and business collide. So that will be off the chain. So y'all get ready for that. I'm excited.
Awesome.
I'm excited.
Yes.
So with that being said, should we go ahead and jump into
I think we should.
the session today?
Because
let's give the people what they want, like you said. So listen. 5 traps holding you back, and we're just gonna jump into this thing and share with you what we got for you. The first trap that is holding you back is the fear of failure. Let me say it again: the fear of failure. Now, here's the thing: failure is something that we talk about a lot, man. I mean, and the fear of failure, rather, is the thing that we talk about a lot, because what we know, what we said is that fear, all it really stands for is false evidence appearing real, right? So false evidence appearing real. That's all it is. That's all fear is. But really, people are having this issue where they don't even want to start things because they're afraid they're going to fail. They're afraid, they're not going to succeed. They're afraid. So instead of even giving it a chance or giving it a try, they just stop. They say, I'm going to stick with the status quo. I'm going to stick with the things that are normal. I'm not even going to attempt this thing. And that is one thing that I truly believe are holding people back.
Yeah, absolutely. I really believe that there are really only 2 failures in life. And the first one is not trying.
Yeah. Yep.
And the second one is not learning after a fall.
Yeah, that's good.
Or not taking something away from it. But, there's a quote that said that a ship is safe in the harbor, but that's not what it was created for.
That's not what it's created to do.
So
can you say that one more again? Because somebody needs to hear that right now.
A ship is safe in the harbor, but that's not what it was created to do. Just sit there. So it was created to set sail. And so we need to not be afraid. We need to get out of the harbor, get out of the safe place, and experience some things in life and realize that the only failing is 1, not trying, and 2, not learning from any time you do fall.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. As we talk about the fear of failure, have you ever had a moment to where you were literally maybe afraid to fail, and literally, whether it's on the job and work, in school, growing up, have you ever had a moment where you were just afraid like that?
Yeah, I think the time that I have felt most afraid of failing is in raising children. Because that's somebody else's life.
Yeah.
Like you don't get a redo.
True.
And they don't come with a manual. There's a lot of things that you can, in different areas of leadership, etc. You know, you can learn skills, you can learn all these sorts of things, but you know, children are unique. Each one of them specifically different, crafted, shaped with their own specific purpose. And I think the times that I've felt most afraid of failing were really as a parent.
Yeah.
You know, wondering if I've done enough, and that sort of thing in their lives. And I know, you know, when you were climbing the ladder in corporate America and spending a lot of time away from home, you know, being gone about 42 weeks out of a 52-week year, y'all.
That's a lot of times.
While I was, you know, home working full time, juggling ministry, pregnant most of the time, and raising the other ones that was born. I felt afraid a lot of times, you know, whether or not I was doing it right. And then, you know, thinking, did I do enough?
Yeah.
You know, was what I did, was it enough?
You know, and I can agree with you, you know, especially with the children. You know, I think you hit the nail on the head. You know, did I do enough? From a rearing standpoint, did I give them enough? Did I spend enough time?
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, that's an area that I know personally, and you just said it. We don't want to fail at being a parent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to be a public success and a private failure, especially as relates to your children. You know, I want to make sure that our children, you know, they're better than us. Right. Yeah. You know, they're better than us. You know, we're listening to the blessing today at church, you know, and it talks about, you know, your children being blessed and their children. And that touches me every single time because I stop and I think about the magnitude of what happens when you bring a child into the world. Like literally for generations, your seed, your lineage is going to continue on. And that's huge. And that's an area that you just can't fail in.
Well, I saw a post and it really struck me this week. It said, you are responsible for 2 generations.
Wow.
You have the responsibility for 2 generations.
Yeah.
And that is, if it can make you afraid. It can kind of make you afraid. It can seem a little bit overwhelming at times. But I would also say this. Though I'm most afraid of failing as a parent, that is the place that I also find the most satisfaction out of life, and I get the most from parenting, you know, not having that experience. And I think that speaks to other areas of our life where we're afraid to fail.
Right.
You know, taking that as an example, I get the most satisfaction out of the place that I'm most afraid to fail. And I think that speaks to your purpose in life. You know, you're going to feel most fulfilled, purposeful. You're going to be in your sweet spot. You're going to be in the zone, whatever you want to call it. Most in the place that you probably feel like you're afraid to fail most.
Yeah. That's actually really good. You know, I was talking to somebody last week and I said, you know, many times your greatest strength could be also your biggest weakness or your biggest opportunity. And that's kind of what I hear you saying, you know, in that area that you're looking at, you're like, that's where I'm fulfilled the most. That's also the area that you're challenged the most in, right? Yeah, that's something else, you know, to really stop and think about it. I know, you know, just other areas of feeling that fear overwhelm me. I know in athletics, I felt like that many times.
Yeah.
You know,
Me too.
literally, and for those of you who don't know, you know, I played, you know, high school and college football. And there are many times where you're out there on the field and you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. You know what I mean? And you didn't want to let people down, you know, especially when you got all these people screaming about you. You don't want to be in the newspaper for anything wrong. You know what I mean? You know, and I will say this. I think the other area that I've had fear really of failing is just in being able to take care of the family. You know, we talked about rearing children, and
provision.
I think that's big. But just being able to take care of the family and the things that need to happen and you know, move within the family. You know, that's one of the things that I continue to say. I'm like, you know what? Not on my watch. I'm not gonna let the family fall because of whatever, but there are times where it's heavy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the weight that you carry as a parent, as an adult, and specifically as a man and as a husband.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
It's heavy.
It's very much like that's very reflexive of a gender role.
Yeah.
And the pressures that are put on men to kind of hold it all together. And I just want to say to men, like it's okay to feel sometimes like you're not able to hold it all together and to reach out. I know many times men don't reach out,
right,
because of that fear of failing, or even sometimes of that pride. Like I'm trying to hold it all together, but if it's starting to fall apart and unravel, like reach out. Don't just stay trapped there in the fear and continue to fail. Like I said, the only two failures, and if you're in the midst of that fall and you're not getting up and learning from it, like do something different. So many times we repeat the same patterns, and we even repeat cycles. We say we're never going to be like our parents, and then we end up saying everything that they say.
Right.
And so we're just repeating the cycle of fear that we've seen carried out in the lifestyle of our parents and how we were raised there. So.
It's interesting. Even as we're talking about this, you bring up pride, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I know just from a man perspective and from a male's perspective, a man,
that's my man,
right. It's almost like, as a man, you have too much pride to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
I think many times as men, we are conditioned to not ask for help, to figure it out, to handle it on your own. And if you ask for help, that in and of itself is a sign of failure and or weakness, right? So there is a fear there of being able to even reach out to other men and men or people in general, just to say, hey, dog, I need a little help here. Or, hey, I don't got this right. Or hey, can you help me with this? And because of that, again, it seems like we as men sometimes beat our heads up against the wall, even though we don't have to. We don't have to. I know even early on in our marriage, I didn't want to fail. You know what I mean? I didn't want you to look at me and be like, oh, he's horrible. He's a failure. You know what I mean? Like I remember, and those of you, watching and listening, you don't know this, but Carrie is a little older than me. I have to remind her of that quite often.
Come on, man. It's like 6 months. I mean, after you get, 40 plus, 6 months, really.
Right.
I'm 44 and a half.
But she's older than me. So not only is she older than me, she graduated before me.
Yeah.
So when she graduated before me, she had the opportunity to get a job before me. So I remember.
Well, I've been working since I was 15 and a half.
Yeah, but you took a job after you graduated, right? And we're there in Danville, Virginia. And after I graduate, I'm down there and what have you, and I'm trying to get a job.
Yes,
and I'm looking for a job, and I'm looking in the newspaper for a job, and I know, we're on a ramen noodle budget here, you know what I mean? But I'm looking for a job, and I'm trying to do things, and I'll never forget, there were times, when I finally found a job, and the newspaper tricked me, y'all, because the job was like, it was like marketing, and I was like, oh, I can do marketing, yeah.
It was door to door. Anytime it says marketing. Now it's on the phone.
Woo! It was straight door to door, right?
This was straight door to door.
It was straight door, and literally,
we were eating them 98-cent Tony's pizzas. Y'all know the ones they put
Tony's
them on.
pizzas.
That's like a big giant cracker, with some red sauce. It ain't really tomato and plastic cheese.
Oh, it's crazy, right? So I remember, going and having that job. And I was happy just to have a job, right? To be able to say, hey, I got a job and I'm in marketing, right? That felt good. But what people didn't know was that I had to go door to door. I had to knock on doors, and there are these cards that I had to sell to these people. And literally, I'll never forget, the cards were $20, and for every $20 card that I sold, I made $7. I won't forget those numbers, right? So I would have to knock on the doors.
Those odds are not good.
Somebody would open the door. They would buy this $20 card, and I would make $7. And I had to drive 30 minutes to get to where I needed to work.
And so let's just top it off with the fact that you weren't from anywhere from around there.
Right.
So you don't know anybody.
Right.
And you don't sound like anybody.
I didn't sound like them at all, right?
No.
Right?
So you got a lot of odds against you.
And so I'm knocking on people's doors out in all kinds of places. And literally, I remember one day, I think I made like $7 that day.
Woohoo!
And I'm sitting there in my green.
About 5 pieces.
I'm sitting in the green Dodge Intrepid, and I'm like having a moment like, I'm failing. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, you know, I know you're working. I'm trying to provide. I'm trying to do what I need to do. And I'm like, what do I do now? I didn't even like make gas money to like get back home.
It cost you more to
it cost
go to
me
work.
more, right? And that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about when we say fear of failure, right? Because it can be extremely, extremely heavy.
But I gotta share this. The most beautiful thing that I've ever seen is you being, I know this is going to sound strange, but let me go with it. You being afraid, but doing it for me anyways.
Okay.
It was so touching to see you literally put yourself in a place, and so many times in life where I knew you were afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, I'm about to cry. But you did it for us. You know, you did it for me. And one great example is for my 40th birthday. But I'm not just talking about just doing it for me because of my birthday, but I'm literally talking about him taking on things. Me knowing that he's afraid. Me watching him, you know, courage or bravery is not the absence of fear. It's just the choice to choose to look at, to be faithful, and to walk by faith and not by sight. It's not the absence of fear, y'all.
Wow.
But to see him walk through that so many times in life, and like Larry said on here, literally do it afraid. But
right.
You know, one example, and it's a funny example, is for my 40th birthday. He knows that I like risks. I'm a risk taker. I'm a daredevil. I'm I'll do anything at least once. I did the slingshot in, what was that, Florida?
Orlando, yeah.
Or in Orlando, Florida. I went into law enforcement, just because God said so. But that's a different story. But he took me on the Ferris wheel in Atlanta, and it's the biggest one that I know of, right?
Yes. It was pretty big to me.
And I didn't know prior to this that he was afraid of heights.
Yeah.
I had never really seen that kind of fear on my husband. Never. I see the fear this is my first child and a brand new father's face, that sort of thing. But y'all, this was fear. This was my fingernails are digging into the seat fear. Like, for real. Like, he's the one usually taking pictures and video, and he can't let go. He's trying to play it off, but
I was gripped by fear.
Yes.
I was gripped by for real.
Then we came around from the top and he swung out because he was on the inside before, but on the other side he was on the outside, and he swung out over the city.
Yeah.
And to just literally see him afraid. I'd never seen him afraid before.
Yeah.
But to know that he did it for me. And I just, tell you in this moment, like, you've done that many a times. I've seen you do it afraid. And I thank you for that. And I just want to encourage you all, the thing that God is calling you to do, you're going to have to do it afraid. If you're not doing it afraid, it's not worth it. You're not living on the edge. You're not close enough to the edge. Like Philip always says, you're taking up too much space.
Yep.
Get out there on the edge. One of my favorite songs is Oceans. Lead me where my feet may fail.
That's good.
Take me out upon the waters, Lord, where my feet may fail. I want to have that Peter experience. I want to say, if that's you, Lord, bid me to come.
Bid me to come. Yep.
And so you got to get into the place in your life where you just do it afraid and say, Jesus, if it's you, bid me to come. And when he says, it is I, step out. So thanks for doing things afraid.
See, she's trying to make me get emotional tonight.
I'm trying not to be emotional.
She's trying to get me emotional.
Give honor where honor's due, y'all. I'm trying to encourage you all. Just do it. Do it afraid.
I'm trying to push this lump back in my
Don't
throat.
be stuck in the trap of fear, right? Don't get stuck in that trap of
That's
fear.
right.
Just step out on the water and do it afraid.
That's right.
Number 2.
Usa. Okay.
Number 2. Number 2 is procrastination. So
Yes.
I was having a conversation with our youngest,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, "Hey, Zoe, tonight on the podcast," she's the one that still talks to me. I'm still semi-cool to her, I guess. You know, a couple of the other ones are getting old enough now that I'm coming back around. I'm coming back in style. So, you know, Trey and Saray, I'm coming back in style with them. But procrastination, you know, I said, which one of these 5 is the top trap? It's the thing that keeps you from getting where you need to go or doing what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, Mom, you know, of course, the first one's procrastination. And I said, why is that? And she said, because I'm able to pull it out at the last minute. You know, sometimes our skill set, our overcoming power, we use it as a crutch.
This is very true.
Keep us in that mode of procrastination.
Yeah.
But the thing about procrastination is that you never know what you're fully capable of. Because, I mean, if you can pull it out in the last minute and still get an A, what could you do if you spent the time?
True.
You know, what would you be if you stopped the procrastinating? And you just stop, like simple things. And we've talked about this before with procrastination. Just not necessarily what I'm going to do for today, but what I'm not going to do.
Yeah. What
are the traps? What are the things that keep you from really spending quality time on the things that really matter?
Yeah.
Not doing those sorts of things. But yeah, that was Zoe. She said procrastination was the number one thing, the number one trap on that page.
Wow.
But she also said her number 5 was excuses. So she doesn't make excuses. She knowingly procrastinates. How many of you all just like knowingly are waiting till the very last minute?
It's funny that, you know, Zoe would say that. She definitely has my blood, because I know, you know, I know that's one of the things that I have as a superpower, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. But because I can pull things out. However, it's a double-edged sword, I guess I can say, because again, all of my life I've had that superpower. I mean, with school, with just stuff. Period. I'm always able to pull things out at the last minute, and again, that's a blessing and a curse, because I know many times when I pull things out, nobody knows that I procrastinated, right? And so it just perpetuates that same way of doing things, because in your mind you're like, you know, I'll pull it out. I'll pull it out. So when I think about procrastination being a trap, it's one of those mental traps.
It is.
That I know personally, mental. I literally I have to like break and bind that thing up. You know, one of the ways that I personally started breaking that up is being able to schedule things out, right? So you know, if I have something that's due on Friday, I've said this many times, break it up into small pieces, but I can't.
Starts at Thursday night.
Well, I can't.
I'm sleeping.
I can't tell myself that anymore. I literally have to plan it.
Yeah.
I literally have to like tangibly write it down and block out a specific amount of time to do whatever that is. You know, great intentions never got anybody anywhere.
No.
And I know personally there are many times where I'm like, oh, well, you know, I'll do it tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes.
Yeah.
So for me, because I'm a techie guy, I don't even know why, but I'm a techie guy. And one thing about being a techie guy, I can schedule things and make it give me alarms and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, when I have those prompts, those small little things that say it's a little visible reminder to say, hey, you need to do this, I'm more likely to do those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm really the same way. I actually do procrastinate on a lot of things, but what I find myself procrastinating on are the things that I don't like to do. And so one of the ways I trick myself is by doing the things that I don't like to do when I'm at my best.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm a morning person and I'm fresh. You know, I'm so fresh and so clean.
Fresh and so clean.
But when I'm fresh, that's when I tackle the things that I don't enjoy doing.
That's good.
You know, do those things first. Get those things out of the way. Because otherwise, the things that I do enjoy doing, I love, you know, I work for a nonprofit. And I love doing the marketing stuff. I love doing the graphic art design. I could get on the website and change it up like every single day. So I know I need to leave those things for the end.
Okay.
Because I will just get lost in that, or I need to just set aside a specific part of a day of of the week for those sorts of things where I can just get immersed in that, because otherwise I will just get overwhelmed in a good sort of way by it. And the next thing I know, those things that you do that you enjoy them so much, you can look up and like 4 hours has passed. Yeah. But I also know that I have a bit of a perfectionist issue. And so I want those things to be just so. And so sometimes I'll just spend an exorbitant amount of time that's just really not, a proper use of my time. So my trick for procrastination is to do the things that I don't like when I'm at my best.
I think that's a gold nugget right there. Just being able, because again, you're fresh. You know what I mean? Because one thing that we know is when you get tired mentally, you also get fatigued. And when you're mentally fatigued, those are the times that you quit it a little early, because you're like, I can do it tomorrow. My favorite work.
Yeah.
Right?
And I always keep a schedule. I do a written one because it helps to reinforce it. And I do put things in my phone as well, in my calendar. But the other thing that I do is listing. Yeah. I find satisfaction. I know you read all these things where they're like, don't do a to-do list. I just find satisfaction in marking it out. Yeah. And literally, I use colored pens to mark it out. I have a little bit of a pen issue. I like pens. Not as much as my cohort at work. She has like 4 million pens. Every kind of pen known to man. But that's just something that I do, and that helps to keep me from procrastinating. It also helps me to just it boosts my feeling that I'm completing things, right? And so I don't procrastinate as much. I'm like, I knock all these off this list, because I'm also extremely competitive. Yeah. So I try to take all of what I know about me and use reverse psychology on my own self, if that makes sense. So that's good. That's just some of my tips with procrastination. So as a trap, it's kind of like, you ever seen a mouse in one of those sticky traps? The more it struggles,
the more stuck it gets.
Yeah. One day we came into work and there was a snake in the trap. And the more it wiggled, it literally was like tearing its own skin. Because it was stuck in the stickiness. It was stuck in the trap. So don't so much wrestle with it. Outthink that thing. That's good. And that's my using lists. That's setting me reinforcing my schedule by writing it down.
Yeah, that's good.
Because I know me. Right. And doing what I hate the most when I am at my best. So, don't wrestle with it. Come up with a solution and then just get in there and execute it so you can avoid the sticky trap.
Yeah, that's good.
Altogether.
That's good.
Because that wasn't doing him any good.
Stop wiggling in the trap. Well, that's good.
Stop wrestling around with it.
Ooh, that's good. We
just wrestle in it. We wallow in it like some pigs in the mud, and just let it defeat us. Literally.
That is so good.
We let procrastination literally remove our skin.
That's good.
Take us out of the skin we're in.
That's good. So let me jump into the third thing. The third thing is a third trap that people can fall into, and it holds us back, is not having a goal, right? Like we don't have something to aim at. We don't have something to throw at. We don't have something in our head that we're aiming for, and that in and of itself is a trap. Yeah. I know personally, one of the things, I can kind of be scatterbrained sometimes, right? I can be all over the place. I can start. What you talking about, Willis? Right? I can start and stop and start and stop. So I know that about me. Yeah. So literally, not having a goal, like even every day, I got to say, okay, my goal for the day is this. Because going back to what you said about being competitive and being able to say, I did it. There's something about being able to say, I did it. For me, that motivates me and pushes me. But if I don't have a goal, man, I can work hard and not do anything.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? You ever been there where you just work hard and don't do anything?
You worked so hard and you're like, what did I do?
Yeah.
Because you've just messed around with all the little tiny details and you haven't gotten anything really accomplished.
Right.
because you didn't really truly have a goal. You didn't set out. I know for work, I've shared before, I work with adults that live with serious mental illness. We start every morning with our morning meditation, setting our minds on something positive to think about, setting that framework so that we always have a positive place to go back to no matter what happens in the day. But the other thing that we do is we set a daily goal, and it's something that has to be accomplished in the next 24 hours.
Right.
So it can't be something that's going to trickle on over into the next day, and it has to match up with the 3 to 5 goals that we have for the year.
That's good.
3 to 5 goals is literally all that you have the brain power to accomplish. Dr. Caroline Leaf does a great job of talking about that and explaining that, and we won't go into that. But setting a goal each day is very important, but it's also important to give yourself some grace for the things that do happen in life as well. So it's good to be goal oriented. We know statistically it is shown that if you have a goal, you're about 50% more likely to achieve than you are if you have no goal at all. You have like a 7% chance of hitting the mark
if you have no goal.
That's
called I don't know what that is.
And then if you put it out there and you have somebody that you've shared your goal with, and you allow them to hold you accountable, that moves your rate up to 97% that you're going to actually accomplish that goal. So having a goal is extremely important, because if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every single time.
Yeah.
And you'll have things. I always say, like, our family is like the family. We're not finishers. We're not closers. Like, we get so close. And that's been one of the things that we've really pushed,
right,
is to show our children that we finish.
Yep.
We can't like halfway paint the bathroom and then get tired of it and then,
on to the next one.
Yeah.
Right.
Start the next project.
Right.
You haven't finished that one.
Right.
So finish. Right. Have a goal and finish.
Well, and to that end, I would love to challenge those people who are watching, those people who are listening to the podcast. This week, start your day off with a daily goal. It doesn't have to be super crazy or anything like that, but literally, I want to challenge you to write down on a sheet of paper, take a note, put it in your iPhone, what have you, but write down, today my goal is to accomplish X, Y, or Z. Let me say it again. Today my goal is to accomplish X, Y, or Z, and write that thing down. And at the end of the day, I want you to be able to go back to it, right? And if you accomplish it, great. If you did not accomplish the task for the day, I want you to ask yourself, what stopped me?
What were the barriers?
Right? What were the barriers?
What was the trap?
There it is.
Yeah, what was the trap? And I just want to add to this, like, make sure that the goal that you establish feeds into your long term.
Right.
Sometimes we set goals, we'll say, calling the doctor to make sure I set an appointment for my child. That's just something on your schedule. That's not really
right.
a goal.
Right.
It has to be deeper than that. It needs to ultimately feed into, what is that overall arching thing that you have been called to do?
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I like that. I like that. What's number 4?
Number 4 is making excuses. Excuses literally are monuments of nothingness of our life, and from excuses come nothing.
That's
I
right.
mean, they don't produce anything but the round and round, the merry-go-round in life. It's just literally like we're looking for a way out. We're trying to make a way of escape for our own selves, to lessen the blow for what we haven't accomplished.
And this thing about excuses is, when you stop and you think about it, it was something that was ingrained in us very, very early in life, right? When you didn't accomplish something, you started thinking and saying, okay, how can I pass the buck so I don't make myself look bad? How do I get out of this? Right? How do I get out of this? So because we've been doing it for so long, the older we get, when you're still doing that, that's like a problem, right? So instead of making excuses, really being able to own what happened, right? You got to. It's personal responsibility now, right? So how can you own what's going on as opposed to passing the buck? Now, here's the thing: even if you did something wrong, just be able to say, you know what, I did it wrong. I messed up, and own it, and be able to move on to the next thing.
Yeah, it's so important. I know that's one of the things that I've tried to show to our children. If I make a mistake, I try to own it. I'm not going to make excuses. Anytime that you're in a situation where you have been in this trap of excuses, you know it, because you always have a but in your statement. But, and the moment you say someone else's name, So those two things are big indicators that there might just be an excuse going on when your butt's in the way and suddenly someone else comes into the narrative. So you got to own your part. I'm not saying, you know, in every failing and every unaccomplished task, whatever the case may be, that it's always all you. Don't take responsibility for something that's not yours and play the martyr, because that's just as bad as the excuse. Right. Because then being the martyr does become the excuse. Oh, well, I'm trying to do everything and I can't do it all, blah, blah, blah. But you can do something. Right. So look for those two things, the but and someone else's name in your narrative. That's you probably using an excuse. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're trying to excuse ourselves from a fault. Yeah.
And again, I go back to that's something that's been conditioned for a long time. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, it was so-and-so.
Trying to save our butt. It's pride.
Right. That at the end of the day, that's what it is.
All these traps really boil down to is pride. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so let me jump into this last one, because this last one, it's low self-esteem. And there are so many of us who have this this view of ourselves. Honestly, that's not correct. Yeah. You know, we look at ourselves as less than. We look at ourselves as lower than. And, you know, the question that I always ask, I'm like who told you that? Like, who told you weren't good enough? Who told you weren't, you know, able? Who told you these things? Because we carry those things with us. And when we carry those things with us, that literally becomes who we are and how we live and how we act out everything. Right. So low self-esteem is something that I honestly, I see people with every single day. And again, I'm challenged to say, hey, listen, who told you this? And let's flip it up, because you're more than able. There's something on the inside of you that's great. There's so much more on the inside of you. We just got to figure out how we can pull that thing out of you. We got to position you and put you in the right place. We have to put you in a position to where you can really activate your superpower and who you are, as opposed to trying to do everything else that everybody else wants you to do, right? Who are you, and what does that look like? And let's get some wins there. You know, the thing that I realize is a lot of times, especially with people who you know, are walking in that place, it's because they haven't seen any wins, you know, especially late. So how can we help people get little wins? Because what I've realized is that little wins daily, they add up to big wins in the long term. So how can we do those little things that will add up to big things that will allow people to have a different view about themselves?
Yeah, I always tell everybody that I work with, you know, stay focused on the tiny victories. You know, there's always victory in every day. It's just the way that you look at it. Yeah. But you're a champion. You got up. You know, so you got up that day. So you're going to win something. You know, there's on one hand, there's the person that you're talking about who's walking around with their head down. You know, I call it the Eeyore mentality, you know, the thanks for noticing me kind of thing. Right.
But on the other side,
then there's that overperformer. Yeah. Yeah. Who is overcompensating, masking for where they actually feel very weak and inadequate. And you know, low self-esteem comes, you know, I see people with no titles, so to speak, to people with great big giant titles, who still have just as low a self-esteem. And so we can't allow those things to define us, titles and things of that nature, because then when they're gone and they're stripped away, you know, and you're before God, and every time you make the comment like you made when you started this, you know, who told you? Yeah. You know, when Adam came before God after he had eaten the apple, after they had done exactly what they were told not to do, he said, who told you were naked? That's right. You know, and so when those things are stripped away from us, can you stand before and not feel ashamed? If not, that's low self-esteem. Right. Back in 2011, I had that experience, and I had to realize whose I was above who I was. And I didn't realize because, I carried myself with confidence. I felt good about, the job that I did, those sorts of things. But really, when it all boiled down, when I was faced with the challenge, I realized that I didn't believe in myself as much as I thought.
Wow.
I believed in a title that I had, and somehow that affirmed me.
Right.
But it has to go beyond that.
Yeah.
It has to be within you. That I tell everybody, put your hand on your heart and look in the mirror and say, I love you, Carrie. It may seem funny and you might laugh the first couple of times. I'm like, oh, this is so dumb. But it really, you just have to.
It does something.
Yes, it really does something for you. You have to constantly affirm yourself and believe in yourself. I tell the kids all the time, if you don't believe in you, who will?
Who's going to believe in you? Right.
I mean, if I walk around with this not believing, who's going to believe in me if I don't believe in my own self?
Absolutely. I love what you're saying. Being able to affirm yourself, right?
Affirm yourself.
Being able to speak those things, right, about yourself. Speak it into existence, even if you don't feel it, right? Yeah. Sometimes you got to be able to say things that you can't see. For us as believers, we walk by faith, right? Yeah. And we think about faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So when I think about that, I might not see it, I might not feel it, but I still got to say it.
Yeah.
And when I say it, when I release the thing from my mouth, something happens in the atmosphere, right? It's like my words come in agreement with the atmosphere. And it's like God is like, boom, let me meet my son. And there's instantly a shift and a change. Like you can literally change your atmosphere by the things that you say. So we have to, again, we got to make sure we're saying the right things, because the opposite can be true of that also.
Yeah, and I think the being able to say the right things can only come forth when we are authentic.
That's good.
The less we are authentic and we're worried about where we're different instead of embracing our differentness and being proud of that degrades our self-esteem, because, being able to just accept all that you are.
Right.
Really will build you up.
That's good.
And when you do that, then you can speak those things. Even though you can't see all of the things that God says you are, maybe right now in the moment, but He's shown it to you.
Yeah.
Now you can speak those things that are not as though they are, and watch those things manifest and come into place.
That's good.
And so no matter what, nobody can take what He's shown you away from you.
Yeah.
As long as you are just being authentically you and embracing all of your differentness, and just moving in that, being okay with being that peculiar people.
And literally, I want to encourage you. There's somebody watching, there's someone listening right now, and you felt like you found yourself in this trap, and you can't get over the hump, if you will. And there's this failure that's this fear of failure that's gripping you. And when the fear of failure grips you, it puts you in a place to where you're stopping and you don't want to move. So now you're procrastinating, and because you're procrastinating, now you don't know which way to go. So you have zero goal. So now as people begin talking to you, now you're making excuses about what you're not doing or what you are doing. And all that does, boom, it weighs on you, right? And now there's this whole low self-esteem spirit picks up on the inside of an individual. So what I want to say to you today is, listen, today we want to break those traps. Today we want to speak to you and say, literally, you're bigger than the trap. It's kind of like, and this may be a crazy analogy, but you are. Have you ever like stepped on an anthill? Like, and the ants go everywhere, which is crazy, but you're so much bigger than the little bitty old ants. You know what I mean? Like, you can step on them and you can crush them, even though you see them. Like, now I remember I let a couple ants get on me and they tore my butt up. You know what I mean? But when I realized the power and authority that I walked in, I realized that I could step on the little anthill and I could destroy the whole thing.
Well, let's go back to the snake example in the sticky pad at work. Now, he lost his life.
Yeah.
But I put my hand on it, and it's just a nuisance for a moment for me until I pull it away. So the same thing that someone else can get trapped in and lose their life, I have the ability to just pull it off. So you got to know who and whose you are. And
That's
you're so
good.
right. These 5 things can be a tangled web
Yes.
of just holding you back.
Yep.
A tangled web, a wall that literally we create to keep us from accessing our purpose. And really, the only thing in our way is us.
Is us.
Our biggest enemy, the person in the ring with us, fighting against us when we open our eyes and look, literally, is our own selves.
So listen, if you're watching today, if you're listening today, you are well able. There is so much more on the inside of you. I want to challenge you. We want to challenge you today. Stop playing it safe. It's time to go to the edge. Why? Because you're well able and you're worth it and you can walk in your purpose. So listen, that's all we have for you today. That's it. 5 traps to holding you back. Break those things and make certain that you come back here next week, Sunday, 8 o'clock, episode number 51. We're talking about 4 fears holding you back from the edge. 4 specific fears holding you back from the edge as we take this thing just a little bit deeper. So, last thoughts?
Hey, if you know somebody that needs this, I think we all know people who are in a trap, and please share this with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would just love for you to share it with them.
That's all we got for y'all.
That's it.
It's another good day here on The Edge Life.
Edge Life.
We out, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.
Edge life, you're too close to the ledge. We gon' push you forward a few steps ahead. It's that edge life. Oh, oh, gotta get it in your head, baby. Welcome to the edge life. You're too close to the ledge. We gon' push you forward a few steps ahead. It's that edge life. Oh, oh.